Camels and Oil Fields by Steve McCurry. There are photographs that document history, and then there are photographs that become history. The image you're looking at right now is one of them. This is Camels and Oil Fields, taken by Steve McCurry in Al-Ahmadi, Kuwait, in 1991. 3 camels walk across a blackened desert floor. Behind them, the horizon is consumed by an inferno. Oil well fires burning with an almost supernatural fury, sending towers of thick black smoke thousands of feet into the sky. The smoke is so dense it has turned midday into midnight. And yet, the camels walk, unhurried, as if they have seen this before, as if this, somehow, is just another day. Let's talk about the man behind the camera. Steve McCurry was born in 1950 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He studied filmmaking at Penn State University, but it was photojournalism that claimed him. After graduating, he worked at a local newspaper for 2 years, and then he did something remarkable. He saved up enough money, packed a bag, and flew to India, alone, with no assignment, no guarantee of publication, and no safety net. That journey would define the next 5 decades of his life. His breakthrough came in 1979 when he disguised himself in local clothing and smuggled himself across the Pakistan border into Afghanistan, just days before the Soviet invasion. The images he brought back, sewn into his clothing to get through checkpoints, were published on the front pages of newspapers around the world. He had captured the final days of a country on the edge of war, before almost anyone else knew war was coming. Time magazine took notice. National Geographic took notice. The world took notice. But if you ask most people what image they associate with Steve McCurry, they will tell you about a girl. In 1984, McCurry photographed a young Afghan refugee in the Nasir Bagh camp in Pakistan. She was around 12 years old. He did not know her name. The photograph, her face fierce and haunted, her eyes an impossible shade of sea green, ran on the cover of National Geographic in June 1985. It became one of the most recognized magazine covers in history. Her name, discovered nearly 2 decades later, was Sharbat Gula. McCurry has spent his career returning again and again to places of conflict, crisis, and beauty, often the same place: India, Afghanistan, Cambodia, Lebanon, the Philippines, the former Yugoslavia. His photographs are defined by something hard to name but impossible to miss: an almost cinematic sense of color and light, combined with a documentary instinct that places human beings, or in this case, animals, at the very center of the chaos surrounding them. Which brings us back to Kuwait, to 1991, to this photograph. In August 1990, Saddam Hussein ordered the Iraqi military to invade Kuwait. By early 1991, an international coalition led by the United States launched Operation Desert Storm to drive them out. As Iraqi forces retreated in February of that year, they carried out a systematic act of environmental destruction on a scale the world had never seen. They set fire to over 600 Kuwaiti oil wells. Some wells burned for months. The resulting fires released an estimated 2 million barrels of oil per day into the atmosphere. The smoke plumes were visible from space. Temperatures in the region dropped. Animals died. The ecological damage was incalculable. Steve McCurry was there. Look at the image again. The composition is almost architectural in its precision. McCurry places the 3 camels low in the frame, small, dark silhouettes against a band of orange fire that runs across the entire width of the photograph. Above the fire, the smoke builds in great churning columns, filling the upper 2/3 of the image with a roiling darkness shot through with purple and gray. The ground beneath the camels is blackened and scorched, and yet flat. It has its own strange stillness, almost like water at night. The color temperature here is doing extraordinary work. At the base of the fires, the light is intensely warm, amber, orange, a deep red, the color of destruction rendered almost beautiful. Then, as your eye travels upward, the warmth is extinguished. The smoke turns cold, gray, then near black. There is something almost geological about it, like watching the formation of a storm front in time-lapse. And the camels. The camels are everything. McCurry has spoken about the importance of the unexpected element, the detail that transforms a document into a story. Here, the camels provide that element. They are ancient creatures in an ancient landscape, survivors of desert conditions for thousands of years. They have outlasted empires, and here they are, walking through the apocalypse with what can only be described as dignity. One of them has its head lowered, as if grazing, as if searching for something to eat in ground that has been poisoned. There is a quiet devastation in that gesture. The photograph works on multiple levels simultaneously. As a document, it records one of the greatest environmental catastrophes of the 20th century. As a work of art, it is structured with the precision of a Renaissance painting, foreground, middle ground, background, each layer distinct, each doing different emotional work. And as a meditation on the relationship between nature and human ambition, between the ancient world and the modern one, it is almost unbearably resonant. What makes McCurry's work endure across decades and continents and crises is his refusal to separate beauty from truth. Lesser photographers might have framed this scene as pure catastrophe, smoke and fire and ruin. McCurry gives us something more complicated. He gives us camels. He gives us creatures that have no understanding of geopolitics, no stake in oil prices, no role in the decisions that led to this moment. They are simply there, as they have always been there, in a desert that is older than any nation that has ever claimed it. There is something in that juxtaposition that feels, even now, more than 30 years later, almost unbearably relevant. The fires of Kuwait were eventually extinguished by November 1991. It took hundreds of firefighters from dozens of countries 9 months to do it. The environmental recovery took much longer. Some argue it is still ongoing, but the photograph remains, sharp, vivid, permanent. Steve McCurry once said, "Most of my images are grounded in people. I look for the unguarded moment, the essential soul peeking out." In camels and oil fields, there are no people, but the soul is there. It belongs to the landscape itself, scarred, burning, and somehow still walking forward. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis valuable, please consider subscribing, exploring the photographs that changed how we see the world.